Hello friends and welcome to another day of Crochet and Crime. My name is Hazy Baby and on this channel I crochet while talking about crime. Today is Friday the 19th of May 2023. Yep, that's the time and the day. That was not the time. The time is 5:14. I don't know why you need to know the time. Apparently I just made that up. Well, I didn't make up the time. The time is actually 5:14. Well, it wouldn't be by the time you watch this. It'll be a different time. But, like, upon saying that time, that was the time when I said it. Okay? Does that make sense? Welcome to my ADHD brain. Okay, so Lillian is done. I've finished. She's finished. That's her in the background just there. She's all done. I've got to quickly wash her and dry her and then post her off onto her merry way. My son is turning 13. I know, I'm so old. In a week's time, and I have left this project to the very last minute because that sounds like me. I am making him a giant aragorumi who's going to be a beanbag. And my son is already 6 foot tall, so he's gonna be really, really tall. I don't know where he got the height from, probably his father, because I'm a midget. I'm barely 5 foot. And when I say that, I'm 4'11". I'm 5 foot when I wear shoes. Yeah, so I'm making a giant Chunkachu is what he wants. So Pikachu, but like fat version of Pikachu, which is so cute. So he can huggle it, and I'll show you it. This is the start of it. I started it this morning. Oh, look at it. This is the start of it. It just looks like a giant rug at the moment. It's humongous though. Like, it's so big already. But yes. Anyway, if you're on YouTube, sorry, my brain just went and did a mental fart. If you're on YouTube, then you'll get to see me working on it as I go around. This is a big ass hook. It's a 10 mil. Yes, what she said. And yeah, I'll be talking about crime like I always do. If you are on TikTok and you'd like to follow me on YouTube and watch the whole videos and not just the 10-minute snippets that I put on here, head on over to my channel. The link is in my bio. And I shall see you a little bit later. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to share with you guys a couple of things before I get started. Number one, no, I don't have a pattern for this. I'm just gonna wing it. I always just wing everything. I've made many aragorumi things this way. I'm dyslexic and autistic sometimes. Sometimes all the time. And when I create things, I just create them out of my brain. So this is a 10 mil hook. I don't know if you can see it. It's 10 mil. And the yarn I'm using is not an actual yarn, it is like cotton and nylon. So the outside of it's nylon and the inside is cotton. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's actually kind of puffy. Like, it's not an actual wool. It's super soft, but it itself does a really thick job. I'm working in a back loop only single crochet stitches because it's quite thick. And by back loop, I mean these two loops here. Those two loops there, and it's actually quite difficult because I've got to get really in there with it. That looked way more sexual than I wanted it to. Anyway, and this is just the base of the giant Pikachu. Pop the shit out of that. I often grab from the middle. Yeah, so I have some crime stories to tell you guys today, and while I try and figure out how to make this giant t-shirt. It's pretty much t-shirt yarn, but it's stuffed t-shirt yarn. So instead of it just being t-shirt yarn, it's actually stuffed with cotton, so it'll be nice and thick and durable for when a giant teenager is playing his games on the computer. We don't really have to worry about tying the ends in too badly because they'll be on the inside of the giant Pikachu. So as you can see here, that's one of the inside ones. And so we don't have to stress too much. We just want to make sure that that is on the inside of the joint. There's the other one, another one up here. This is 5 balls. So yeah, the balls don't go far. That's what she said. Woo! So without further ado, let's get started on today's crime. So there's been a fire in New Zealand hostel. I've got two stories regarding that today. So I'll tell you the first one and then I'll tell you the second one. So a man has been charged over a deadly New Zealand hostel blaze and tries to fire his lawyer, apparently. So like I said, I'm just going through these back two loops here and just doing a single crochet through it. It's slow going, and that's why I think that's why I kept putting it off. I've made giant things before. My son is quite a fan of the giant plushies, and I've made a giant plushie once before. And then it flooded here in 2019, and all of the things I had made my children had been destroyed in the flood. So he had a Batman that I made that looked like him. His little hood used to come off. And my daughter had many things, and I was really devastated when I lost all of the stuff I had crocheted. So I took a little bit time off and stepped away from it for a bit, and then got really upsetty spaghetti with myself because really I can't get those items back, and my children shouldn't have to miss out on having things made for them just because natural disasters happen. So okie dokie. This really hurts your hands after a bit, just saying. So he's been charged over a deadly fire in New Zealand Loafers Lodge hostel. He has been remanded in custody and given name suppression at the first court appearance in Wellington. The man, a 48-year-old, has been charged with setting fire to the lodge and a couch on the third floor. One charge carries a maximum of 14 years in jail and the other 7 years. The man appeared in a black sweatshirt with his hoodie up, made gestures and signs at the media attending, and told his assisted lawyer, Doug Irwin, that he was fired. He also said that Irwin was not getting him bail. Bail was opposed by the police, so he actually has no choice. He can't give him bail if the police have refused to give him bail. So the lawyer can't do anything about it. So press copies of charging documents showing the man with no fixed abode, so he's got no house. Wellington District Court Judge Jan Kelly remanded him in custody until June 19th. Acting Wellington District Commander Inspector Jean Bennett said that police were not seeking anyone else in relation to the fire, meaning that they suspect that he was the sole arsonist. And the investigation into the fire is ongoing, but police have not ruled on any further more serious charges in relation to the deaths at the scene, because they are still gathering more information, but no doubt he will be charged with the deaths as well. So the death toll remains at 6, but fewer than 20 people are still unaccounted for, so still missing. 20 people are still missing. 92-year-old have been accounted for, and one person in a stable condition in Hutt Hospital. So police began removing the bodies of the victims on Thursday, which is yesterday, and 2 more bodies are expected to be removed today. Bennett said that the damage on the third floor of the Newton hostel was significant, and the scene examination was expected to take several days, and it would likely go into the weekend, he said. So that's really tragic. There's obviously been a hostel fire. I think they're saying that he intentionally lit the fire, and the fire has caused deaths. There's still people missing, or unaccounted for, if you will. It's a hostel, so it's a little bit harder. I'm not sure what New Zealand's regulations are for counting people in a fire emergency. I know that Australia has some pretty strict ones now, thanks to the Children's Backpacker fire. Similar thing happened where a hostel was burned down, or backpackers, same thing. and a bunch of people died, and this is the same sort of thing has happened in New Zealand. So that's super sad for everyone involved. Okay. All right, the second story on that obviously came out. So that almost came out this morning. And then the second story on that one is that the 2 bodies they suspected might be in the fire have been recovered. So there are 2 more bodies. So 2 more bodies have been pulled out of the... oh, sorry. I keep smacking the camera. I'm so sorry. Let me move myself around a little bit so I stop jiggling that camera. My camera, it jiggles. This doesn't look like yellow on this camera, but I promise it is. I mean, it couldn't be Pikachu if it was any other colour but yellow. Okay, sorry. So the total number of bodies found in the Esterley fire is 4. Police have recovered 2 of the 6 victims. Another 2 of the 6 victims, sorry. In addition to 2 yesterday, so that's 4 in total. And then they said that they have also located a 5th body and a 6th body, but they haven't removed them yet. So in total, there's 6. Police can confirm that 4 victims have now been recovered, and 2 were recovered today, in addition to 2 being recovered yesterday. A 5th has been located and is yet to be recovered, and a 6th has been located and yet to be recovered. Police have now accounted for 99 people who were in the building, so that's good. The number of unaccounted for is now fewer than 10, so they're still looking for another 8 people. And until they've fully examined all the parts of the building, they remain reluctant to confirm the specific numbers of deceased or unaccounted for persons, which is, fair. So hopefully there'll be an update on that a little bit later on, and the person who did this, the 48-year-old, whose name was still suppressed, and it will be until they actually charge him with something. At the moment he's just in remand, is in custody until June 19th, which is when he'll be having his hearing. So we do know it's a him at least, but we don't know his name. Okay, so the reason I'm doing back post ones and not front post ones, if you were thinking, why is she doing back post ones? Okay, first of all, I just like the uniformity of this front. But the main reason is if I was to go through here, I'll show you. While it would be easier, can you see how it leaves this big hole? And I don't want a big hole in it. I don't want you to be able to see the stuffing. So when I'm pulling through the back, I'm going through 2 loops in the back, and it pulls that loop across to cover that gap space. See? And so now when I close it, it just springs back in, and you have that one covering that gap space, as opposed to just all these holes everywhere. And so now when I fill this up full of stuffing, it's going to take a lot of stuffing to fill it up. Well, when I fill it up full of stuffing, he's going to be like, it could be chunky, but you won't be able to see any of the stuffing on the inside. Even though I'll be putting the stuffing inside a bed sheet. I line the inside of this with the bed sheet so that none of the stuffing comes out through the holes. It's a feel thing. It's a feel thing. Alrighty, let's move along now. Let's do some Australian stories. I mean, my New Zealand brothers and sisters, I love you, but yeah, this is bad. Let's do this one. So, a mother of slain nursing student is incandescent with rage. I like it. Over disposal of the body. So the mother of the murdered nursing student says that she's incandescent with rage. I love that. That is like a perfect description. As you can tell, I'm in love with words, and I think that word is just fitting. That her daughter's body was discarded like rubbish, and no doubt I would have been too, in the South Australian Flinders Range. So Jasmine Kerr was stalked, abducted, and murdered by Taranok Singh in March of 2021. Her body was dumped in a shallow grave 400 kilometres from where she was last seen leaving work. Singh initially denied the killing but pled guilty before he was due to stand trial. So he was like, nah, it wasn't me. And then he was like, ah, you got me. It was me. Fucking jerk. Anyway, so Kerr's mother, Rush Paul, travelled from India to Australia and laid eyes on her daughter's killer for the first time. And while her victim impact statement was read to the court during the sentencing submission in her case, her statement detailed the torment she endures by the way that her precious little girl was killed. The statement said her daughter's last hour on earth was filled with brutality and terror, and I agree. She said it was because Singh had tried to forcibly marry Kerr, claiming that the 21-year-old refused him more than 100 times. In the end, she said her daughter was disposed of like rubbish, and she is now iridescent with rage at the thought. So Kerr's brother, sister and aunt also gave victim impact statements to the court, and the rest of the sentencing submission was adjourned while a new psychological report is ordered. Singh will be taken back to court in July. So this jerkbag, this disgusting human being, this poor excuse for a man, stalked this poor girl, harassed her on a regular basis, and tried to get her to be with him. When she refused to be with him, he murdered her, did some unspeakable acts to her body, then took her out to the ranges and dumped her body like she was nothing. When he was... Sorry, this is really tight. When he was in his interviews with the police, he'd never confessed. He just said they didn't know what they were talking about, couldn't understand why he was a suspect, all this jazz. And then when he faced court, he decided that he didn't want to go to a jury trial, and so he said, yeah, it was me, I did it, I killed her. And that was the extent of it. And because he doesn't have to give a reason, he didn't. None of them ever do. But the mother suspects it was because her and her daughter were quite, chatty with one another, as you would be if your mother was thousands of kilometres away and a couple of flights. And so, yeah, she was over here with her... I think she lived here with her brother and her aunt. Which is sad. I think her mum was still in India, but I think her brother and her aunt was over here for sure. But yeah, it's just super sad, guys. It's just super sad. Like, she didn't want you, so now she doesn't get to breathe ever again. Nice. What a charming fellow. Well, I'm glad she didn't have to spend the rest of her life married to him, but I'm sad that she spent her last days on this earth and her last moments on earth with this scumbag of a human being. Oh, my hands are going to be so sore by the end of this. I should really got to jam it in hard. Okie dokie. So, a Sydney man allegedly packed drugs for sale on the dark web. On the dark web. That sounds like, Anyway, so a man has been charged with supplying large quantities of drugs on the dark web since 2018 in Sydney's eastern suburbs. So police arrested a 37-year-old man after they allegedly found him packing the illicit drugs in Bondi Junction at 1:30 p.m. yesterday. So he's obviously been known to police. So detectives allege he was supplying cocaine, methamphetamine and MDMA in exchange for cryptocurrency, apparently, which they also found that cryptocurrency when they raided his home. In addition to drugs, police also allege they found computers along with $30,000 and 270,000 worth of various cryptocurrencies. I didn't even think that cryptocurrency was really a thing anymore. I thought people thought that went the way of the, whatever that saying is. Insert saying here. Okay, if anyone would like to know why I put this in here. Now, I don't normally use stitch markers. I use them to like stitch mark like, you know, random things. But I find them super helpful in things like this because this is a slow increase. I don't want my shape to be a cylinder. I want it to be like a bowl shape. So to be a bowl shape, I have to slowly increase every like 6 or 7 rounds. And this is a continual stitch. There is no beginning and end of it. So it begins and then there is no end of it. It just keeps going and going and going and going and going until I stop because it's a single crochet stitch. So it doesn't actually step up much. So the step up's not much. Anyway, so when I usually get to this point, I will put it on the next layer so that I can count how many times I've been around. Because after a few hours, trust me, it gets very tedious, especially if you're an artist and you like change, where this is just like, ugh, and keep going, and keep going, and keep going. And this is the reason why I like to do the blankets that I do, because they're exciting and I don't know what it's going to become. Where this, I know what it's going to become. It's going to become a big, fat, giant chunkachu. But it'll be cute and it'll be worth it. The pain in my hands is worth it. So Detective Superintendent Matthew Kraft said additional crimes were advancing in the digital world, and dark web marketplaces can represent the new platforms of criminal activities. Your perceived anonymity online, particularly when you use the dark web marketplace, is no longer assured, and criminals and buyers beware that everything is always monitored. And I've been saying that forever. Everything comes with a price, guys. Everything in the world comes with a price. If anyone tells you it doesn't, they're full of shit. It does. Everything comes with a price. You know, doing my craft, it comes with a price. It comes with a price of pain in my hands. It comes with a price of, you know, running out of time, using my time, which is probably the most valuable commodity that you have. But everything comes with a price, and it's just whether that price is worth it. So whether that cake is worth the bake, if you will. So let us see if there's any more to that story. Like I said, they're really tight stitches, but they have to be because I'm a perfectionist. So the man was allegedly preparing drugs for the Post when police contacted with a search warrant. He was shocked about the fact that police were present, and we don't believe he was even aware of law enforcement had an interest in his activities at the time. He was just packing them into normal containers. Kraft didn't reveal the platform that the man was using, so it didn't allow more people to pursue them. The 37-year-old man was arrested at Bondi Junction apartment and taken to Waverley Police Station. He was charged with 31 offences, including supplying prohibited drugs on an ongoing basis, knowingly dealing with proceeds of a crime, and 16 counts of supplying a prohibited drug, indetectable and commercial quantity. Indetectable? Oh, meaning they don't know how much he had. Oh, all right, I get it. So, a man pleads not guilty to murdering and dumping a 9-year-old girl in a barrel. So let's see what this scumbag did, shall we? Like I said, I've got to keep turning this blanket around. It weighs a fair bit. So, a man has been accused of murdering 9-year-old Chase Lee Mutton and dumping her body in a barrel, and he has been committed to stand trial. So Justin Lawrence Stein, 32, has pled not guilty on Friday to domestic violence related to a murder and improperly interfering with a corpse. So Chasely, the daughter of Stein's then fiance, was allegedly killed on his family's multi-million-dollar Blue Mountains property days before she was reported missing in January of 14, January 14, sorry, in 2022. So last year. A 5-day search, and I remember this, a 5-day search into bushland ended with her body being found in a barrel that had been dumped near the Colo River in northwest of Sydney. Chaseley's mother, Callista, is not accused of any wrongdoing in relation to her death. They believe it was the stepfather. So Stein appeared in the... She's so cute, you guys. She's absolutely adorable. Stein appeared in the Penrith local court by video link to enter a not guilty plea to the charges of murder and interfering with a corpse, and was committed to stand trial in the New South Wales Supreme Court. He faces arraignment in court on July 7th. He's also pled not guilty to 2 charges of possessing child abuse material and was committed to stand trial in the district court on those charges. So, I would say, and this is just my opinion, I don't know the facts of the case, I don't presume to know things. I always think that you should presume that they're guilty until proven innocent, especially when it comes to children. But I would say he was a pedophile, he is a pedophile, and he's done something to that poor child and then murdered her when she was going to go to her mother and tell her mother. That's my suspicion. And it's disgusting. That's where my mind goes to, but how much do you guys want to bet that I'm right? Okay, so his lawyer, Peter Costous, told the AAP that Stein would vigorously defend both cases. Of course he would, because he doesn't want people to think he's a pedophile murderer. And says that he is only really in court for a fire-related charge, and 1 charge of breaking and entering against Stein are still subject to negotiation in a local court. He remains in custody after bail was refused. Well, thank God for that, hey? Thank goodness for that. So I'm really sad. I remember this story of Chaseley, and I remember when she first went missing earlier that year, and then they found her in a barrel. A little while later, after a 5-day search, they found her body in a barrel. She wasn't in the barrel. She had long gone to heaven. And her body was so badly decomposed that it's hard to speculate exactly what injuries were caused prior to her death and what injuries were caused after her death. So that will be one of the prosecutor's hardest things, will be to establish exactly what was done to the child previously and what was done to the child post-mortem, and then also who did what. Although I think we can educatedly speculate that it was him. But I've been wrong before, but I doubt I'm wrong about this. Okie dokie, artichoke. Let's move on to our next story for the day. I know it sounds like I'm breathing hard, but trust me, if you had to push this giant needle through that, you would be breathing hard too. And I sound so sexual today, and I do not mean to. So, Queensland fugitive arrested in Sydney after alleged carjacking with a firearm. You heard that correctly. So, a fugitive who was wanted in Queensland for allegedly carrying an AK-47, which is like a big deal here, has been arrested in Sydney after an alleged carjacking involving another firearm. So, New South Wales police allege that 38-year-old man was sitting in his car at a set of traffic lights when the wanted man, Michael James Wilson, got into his car with a gun on Old Canberra Road in Dulwich Hill at about 7:50 yesterday. Wilson allegedly told him to keep driving until they got into a fight on Canterbury Road in Kempsey. Hold on a second, I just gotta let my dog out because he's like losing his tiny mind in the background, so just give me a wee minute. Okie dokie. So police allege that the victim got out of the car and called police while Wilson kept driving until he crashed into a parked car, genius, on Bixley Road in Earlywood. He was arrested soon after following a short foot pursuit. The foot pursuit. He's not short, the foot pursuit was. The New South Wales police had said, and that Wilson was taken to the Royal Prince Alfred Hospital for observations while he remained under police guard. Now, he wasn't injured when he hit the parked car, but police have to be safe rather than sorry. And the thing is with head injuries is that you never really know if something worse could happen. The driver was sustained a minor hand injury and was visibly upset in relation to the matter. Clearly. He was... What? Okay, he was very brave in terms of what he did in saving his own life. Okay, I've got no idea the circumstances of that statement or what that means, but okay. Oh, they mean the guy. Sorry. I was like, what? I'm so confused. They mean the guy who got carjacked. He was very brave in saving his own life, getting out when they were parked at the lights and just legging it. Clever man. Okay, I was just like, what? I'm so confused. It's because there's too many he's. A result search of the vehicle ended with finding 2 firearms. And they, I think, presumed that the firearms belonged to the offender since he was already wanted for an AK-47. She said police were aware that Wilson was wanted in Queensland, but they would deal with the New South Wales police matters before potentially extraditing him back this way so that we can have our turn at him. Wilson's on the run from the Queensland police after 2 alleged shootings, a house fire, and confronting a woman in a dark alley. Doesn't he sound like a trooper? What a top bloke. Let's be friends. I'm being sardonic, guys, by the way. Wilson ran from the police and it's alleged that he had an AK-47. I consider this man armed, dangerous, irrational, but particularly unpredictable, Detective Superintendent Andrew Masden said in April. Wilson is expected to be charged when he is released from hospital, but under the moment, he's under armed guard. So, doesn't he sound like a keeper, guys? Don't you just want to be married to him? Isn't he like just your best friend? Yay! Okie dokie. Alrighty, so a woman has been accused of hitting a girl with a spoon because she wanted to. Yep, you heard that correctly. Because she wanted to. Well, I want to hit her. Am I allowed? I never believe that violence is the answer, I think. Violence is the lowest form, and once you use violence, you've lost. And I don't think anyone deserves any kind of violence. People should just do better, people. Just do better. So, a Queensland mother of 9 accused of repeatedly hitting an already traumatized 5-year-old girl with a wooden spoon because she wanted to, has been committed to stand trial for child abuse. Thank God. So Rebecca Beverly Noe, 42, is charged with child cruelty and 6 assault offences over alleged incidences that occurred 4 months until May 2022. The child's mother left the girl in January 2022 after the 5-year-old had endured a traumatizing incident. When the child was returned to her mother, following Child Safety Services concern 4 months later, fuck's sake, you guys are useless, Child Safety, she was covered in bruises, scars, and lesions. Good job, Child Safety. The court was told during bail proceedings. The child complained that Niwa had repeatedly assaulted her with a spoon and a couple of times with her hand, and at one stage, for a long period of time, on her back. Mr. Fraser said when asked by the child why she was being hit, she said, because she wanted to. Because she wanted to, guys. Because she wanted to. She was committed to stand trial in the Brisbane District Court at a date yet to be decided after a brief committal hearing at the Magistrates Marina on Friday today. Her lawyer conceded that there was previous cases against her and they didn't enter a plea, which is absolutely ridiculous and now makes me even more angry at child safety. Look, I'm all for reunification. I really am. I'm all for positive parenting. I've gone to classes myself. I'm not even an angry person. Like, I've never even raised my voice to my children. So I've gone to those classes because I believe in them. I think that they work. I think that everyone should have to go to them. You know, I don't want to be the voice inside my daughter's head that tells her that she's not good enough. So I think that anyone who can raise their hand to a child is disgusting. And before everyone gets on my goat like, yeah, Mom, I was hit as a kid and it didn't hurt me. Yes, it did. It did hurt you. It did hurt you because you're still bringing it up now and you're in your mid-frickin' whatever. You're 30 years old and you still lash out at people. We hit people and then we tell children not to hit people? Like, ridiculous. You know, and you should have more capability than that. And there are ways to reprimand your children and teach them the ways of the world without flogging them into submission. I don't need my child to submit. I need my child to know why I'm choosing to do the things I'm doing. You know, I choose not to let you have the internet not because I hate you, but because I love you. And the world is a scary place. I choose to drive you to the shops instead of letting you catch a bus because Daniel Morecambe died. And I'm paranoid, you know? And I'm sure I'm not the only parent out there who's a bit like that. Okay, so the reason why these ones are a bit tight is because that's where I joined it. So they're a little bit tight. So you got to be a little bit more forceful. I'm going to go down and then back. Down and up, down and up. Alright, give me a second. I need to fix this. There we go, I got it. I needed to hop off camera for a second because I didn't want to get frustrated with it too much. But you have to go like through and under. I wasn't even looking at the camera then. I was showing you guys down here. Oh, look, say, can't you see? Yeah, I had to go through that bit and I needed to be able to see it without, so you guys could actually still see. Anyway, let's move on to our next story. So, great human tragedy. A man jailed for murdering an ex in a fit of rage. Seems to be a lot of that happening. A lot of that domestic violence. You know, I would just love to wake up one day and find that everybody is just loves one another and that no one is brutally murdering the people that they're supposed to love. It's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I've never heard such bullshit in my life. Anyway, so a judge has described a murder of Sydney TAFE worker by her once on-again, off-again boyfriend as a great human tragedy. Don't know if I'll go that far, but I do think it is a tragedy. So James Heckman, 37, was jailed for up to 24 months after he was found guilty. That's it, guys, 24 months. No, it wasn't. It's 24 years. Jesus, hell, it's nothing. 24 months? That doesn't seem fair. It was 24 years. I don't know why I said months. It doesn't even say months. It says years. When he was found guilty for murdering his 30-year-old Samantha Baker in January of 2019. He murdered her, and it has caused such a great loss and the extent of the impact which cannot be conveyed in words. And I agree. Miss Baker's death was a great human tragedy. She was a captivating person who made all of those around her feel whole. The qualities of a particular victim may serve as a powerful reminder to the quality of human life itself and all those involved in taking it away. Heckman sat silently in court more than 4 years after he killed Baker near her Parramatta apartment in a fit of jealous rage after she refused to spend New Year's Eve with him. That's right, that's why he murdered her. He murdered her because she didn't want to spend New Year's Eve with him. Baker was tumultuous and sometimes violent. And since they'd first met at work in 2015, she ended the relationship with Heckman on multiple occasions, but eventually found a new partner in December of 2018, which was the reason why he was in a jealous rage. She found someone who treated her better. So the court was told that Heckman waited outside her apartment in his car and spied on Baker while she was on a date, becoming enraged when he witnessed the pair kissing in the early hours of January 4th, so after New Year's. Then he concocted a story about his parents being involved in a car accident to lure the soft-hearted Baker out of her apartment before killing her. He later went to Bunnings and bought various items, including a double sheet, gloves, cleaning products, and a digging trowel. What a wonderful human. Before driving to the isolated areas in rural New South Wales. So, what a horrible human being. Her body has never been found, guys. They still haven't found her body. And since he hasn't pled guilty, he's just been found guilty, they have no idea where she is. So the offending involves fatal violence towards a female partner arising out of his jealousy and anger because of her being with another man, and I agree. Despite hearing evidence of childhood trauma and abuse suffered by Heckman, I don't give a fuck, during sentencing hearings, Wright said they're not significant enough to justify the conclusion of his moral capability, and I agree. Just because daddy hit you or just because you were abused as a child is not a good enough excuse as far as I'm concerned to hurt somebody else. In fact, it drives me to not hurt anybody else. I cry if I freaking accidentally step on a butterfly or brush its wings by accident. Or, you know, you don't have to be a cold-hearted asshole because people were cold-hearted to you. That's just a cop-out. He'll be eligible for parole in 2037. However, Australia has a no body, no parole clause. So if we don't find her body, he doesn't get parole. He's been sentenced to 24 years imprisonment with a no parole period of 18 years once they find her body. And he'll be eligible, like I said, in 2037. So for crisis support, guys, if you find yourself in a crisis and you need support, please call Lifeline on 13 11 44, or if you know anyone who is being abused or you yourself are being abused, please contact 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. There are lots of places, if you are fearful for your life, regardless of gender, that you can contact to help you get out of that kind of situation. And here in North Queensland, we even have places for you to send your animals if that's the only reason you're staying with a partner, is because you are fearful they will hurt the animal that you live with and you have nowhere you can go and take the animal. That's okay. We have temporary foster families here who are more than happy to take care of your animal while you get away from your abusive partner. Again, like I'm saying, regardless of gender, there's people out there to help you. Alrighty, so an elderly Australian doctor freed after being held by militants for 7 years. So Australian doctor Kenneth Elliott has been released after more than 7 years in captivity in West Africa. the federal government announced today. So, hold on. I think I did the last row a bit too tight as I was not paying attention. You've got to do them a bit loose. Well, not that loose, but a bit looser. So that on the next round it's not so hard to push through. It's a fine line between pleasure and pain. So the 88-year-old Perth surgeon was kidnapped in 2016 by Al-Qaeda affiliated militants in, I have no idea how to say that, but it was in West Africa. So Foreign Minister Penny Wong said Elliot is safe and well and has been reunited with his wife Jocelyn and their children. Jeebus, 7 years, that's a long time. Poor dude. She said the government and Elliot's family have worked tirelessly towards the release. We acknowledge the strength and resilience of Dr. Elliot, and members of his family have shown through the most difficult times of circumstances. And I agree. We extend our thanks to the Australian officials who've worked over many years to secure Dr. Elliot's release and to provide his family with support. And no doubt, good job, guys. Elliot's family released a statement today thanking everyone who had worked towards his release. We wish to express our thanks to God and to all those who have continued to pray for us. We express our relief that Dr. Elliot is free and thank the Australian government and those who have been involved over time to secure his release. We also continue to pray for those who are still held and wish them freedom and safe return to their loved ones. At the age of 88, and after many years away from home, Dr. Elliot now needs time and privacy, no doubt, to rest and rebuild his strength. We thank you all for your understanding and sympathy. And guys, seriously, let's just leave him alone, hey? He's spent how many years overseas? Let's just leave him alone. Okay, we're glad he's home. She's thanked us. Now everyone just needs to leave them alone. We don't have a dog in this fight, so let's just leave it. Elliot and his wife Jocelyn were abducted following an attack in January 2016 in the Faso capital of, I'm not going to say that, a suspected Islamic extremist that killed 28 people. Jocelyn Elliot was released a few weeks later, but her husband, being a surgeon, wasn't released for another 7 years. I think they must have just kept him because they thought they could use him. Okay, so this next story is a car has been impounded after the driver was allegedly doing 125 kilometers per hour in a 60 kilometer zone. Yep. Man's car has been impounded after he allegedly did that. Horrible. He was clocked driving more than double the speed limit in Melbourne overnight. He could have killed someone. Sociopath. The driver was allegedly detected travelling at 125 kilometres an hour in a 60k zone while weaving through three northbound lanes. So weaving in and out of lanes. So great. Police pulled the vehicle over and allegedly found that 3 of the 4 wheels were missing wheel nuts. So not only was he driving that fast, but he was driving unsafely with a vehicle that was unsafe. According to the police release, officers were shocked by the discovery. The car was impounded for 30 days and cost $896. I don't know why that matters. I hope he gets a lot more time. Okie dokie, so I'm going to try and wrap these couple of next stories up because, I'm running out of time, but it's okay. You guys will watch it. So, teen dies after a stabbing at a busy train station in Melbourne's West. So many stabbings happening later. So, a teenager has died lately, after being stabbed at a busy train station in Melbourne's West this afternoon. So yesterday was like the calm before the storm. I had hardly any news to tell you guys, and then today it's just like everyone's just gone batshit fucking crazy. So emergency services were called to the station place at Sunshine at about 3:45 this afternoon after reports that a male had been stabbed. So police said that on Thursday night, a 16-year-old from Milton South was treated by paramedics but died at the scene. How sad is that, guys? That is so sad. Another 16-year-old mate from Sunshine North was taken to the hospital with minor injuries, they added. Homicide detectives are now investigating the death and working to determine the exact circumstances around the incident. There are many school students who catch these trains and around that busy time of the day, and so police are asking anyone who might have witnessed the incident, or perhaps have any mobile phone footage, dash cam footage, or CCTV footage, are urged to contact police, Melbourne Police. So yeah, one dead teenager and one injured teenager. And I was just saying how I don't let my daughter catch a bus. This is why. You know, my grandma used to say, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong. And look, see, we're back to the circle again. And I would have never guessed that we were still doing that. But like I said, that's why. So I've got one more round and then I've got to do a decrease. Ugh, so tight. So tight. All right, let's go to the next story now. So this is a nice quick one as well. So police search for a suspect arsonist over fires of 2 businesses. So police are searching for a suspect arsonist after 2 businesses have been destroyed by fires in Perth. So emergency services were called just after midnight. But by the time they had arrived, the fire had gutted the Western Power Works and spread to the neighbouring business West Coast Gymnastics. It's estimated the fire has caused an excess of $2 million worth of damages. They quickly got into action and managed to contain the 2 businesses, so they worked very hard under the circumstances. And under the conditions, the Department of Fire and Emergency Services District Officer Daryl Kramer said, as firefighters left the scene, the arson squad took over, treating the fire as a targeted attack. If anyone has any information about suspicious activities, persons or vehicles, CCTV or dash cam footage, please contact WA Police, because they are trying to figure out who would do this. And hopefully, I don't think anyone was in the factories at the time. Well, they definitely weren't in the gym, because it was in the middle of the night. So hopefully no one was injured. It doesn't say anything, and you think they would lead with that if someone was injured. But still, fires are bad, okay? Okay, so a car with a baby inside has been stolen from a mother on an Adelaide street. So police are searching for a man who stole a car with a baby inside from an infant's mother in Adelaide this morning. The 1-year-old is safe and has been reunited with his mum when police say they tried to stop the thief before he drove off in her car in the suburb of Clearview on Thursday morning. Just after 11 a.m. on Thursday the 18th of May, a woman had parked her car at a business in Hampstead Road and got out for a brief moment. Don't leave your kids in the fucking car alone, you bloody idiots. I don't know how many times I've never said a statement so Australian in my entire life. Stop leaving children in cars. Brief moment, my ass. There's CCTV footage of her going inside a fucking... Anyway, breathe, Hayley. At the time, the man got into her white Mazda SUV and the woman attempted to stop him, but she was pushed to the ground and he drove off. The woman's 1-year-old baby boy was asleep in the car seat in the rear at the time at the theft. Patrols quickly responded to the scene and searched the neighbouring suburbs. Police were able to track the car using the victim's mobile phone, and the vehicle was located 20 minutes later in Roe Circuit and reunited with the mother. Officers are still searching for the man who's described as Caucasian with a scraggly beard, so every man in Melbourne, And he's wearing a faded track pants, Adelaide I mean, and light lines down the side. A hooded jumper with creamy colour and a bit of white, police said. Anyone who saw suspicious behaviour around Rocourt at Wakeley Heights and a Mazda CX-9 SUV this morning has been asked to contact authorities. So, I know I got a little bit on my high horse then, but seriously, stop leaving kids in cars. Even if it is for a brief second, don't. Just don't. Don't leave them in there to quickly grab them out. Don't leave, just don't leave them in there. Just don't. Okay? Kids die in cars. Kids are kidnapped in cars. Just don't. It's super dangerous. I wouldn't even leave my dog in the car. And I can't stand when people do that either. Oof. Anyway, that's enough for a hazy rant. Okay, I've got one last story for you guys today, and it is about a widower who's trying to sue a bar and driver over a wife's wedding night death. So, the alleged drunk driver, who police say slammed into the newlyweds riding along the South Carolina Beach Road in the US. So it's not even in Australia, Hayley. Why are we reading this one? Now faces a wrongful death lawsuit because they're American and they sue everyone. Several establishments caused overseeing her on the night of the crash, which killed his bride. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the details of this because, like I said, I thought it was an Australian story, but it's not. It's an American one. And while I do international stories, I'm running a bit over time today, so I really don't want to add it in. But I will say this. I know I just said that Americans like to sue everyone. That's a very broad statement. Obviously, I'm just spitballing here. And I would probably sue for wrongful death too if a drunk driver smashed into me and killed my significant other. I would definitely be suing anyone I could possibly be suing. It's not going to fix his grief, just saying. So what had happened was the driver had been drinking at a pub, obviously, and or at a bar, whatever they call it in America, and then got into his car quite inebriated and then smashed his car into their car. They had just been married that day, on their way to their honeymoon or on their way to their suite, and it killed her. He survived, she died, and now he wants sweet justice, which is fair. It's so sad. Anyway, so the toxicology report said that his blood alcohol reading was 0.261, which is 3 times the legal limit. And so I can appreciate why he's really pissed off, because I'd be really pissed off too. You can tell, and bars have the right to refuse alcohol. So, you know, no one should have allowed him to get in his car and drive. And I know we can't stop people from getting in their cars and driving. I know. But we can at least do everything in our power to stop them. So I don't think he'll win this case, because good luck trying to prove that they knew he was so inebriated, especially if the bar was super duper busy, and he was drinking or nursing drinks all night long. So the circumstances under which he was drinking and all of that jazz. And plus it'll open the door for it. All the other cases will come flooding in. So they have to be very careful with what they choose to agree or disagree on. And for all my American watchers out there, I am sorry to generalize you all. I know you're not all sue everybody. It's just that I watch a lot of Judge Judy, and I'm just saying, I think it'd be a very boring show if it was over here in Australia, because no one sues anyone for anything. Anyway, I don't mean to offend anyone. If by chance I have offended, think on this and all is mended. Might be back 10 minutes in time for all the chance you'd change your mind. That's Tim Minchin. Okie dokie, artichokes, thank you for your wonderful time today. I appreciate you big muchness. Look how big this Pikachu is going to be. I mean, in all fairness, he is about the size of the bottom of a beanbag at the moment, but he will be huge. He will be a giant chunkachu. So tomorrow I'm going to have to set myself up differently, because obviously he'll be bigger and I'll have to do it on the floor or something. I don't know, but I'll have to probably get back to my crochet along, which I haven't done for a couple of days. Anyway, bye! Have a wonderful day!